When it comes to choosing a new pope, the process is a mix of ancient tradition, religious ritual, and politics. Only a small select group has a say in the decision, with votes taking place behind closed doors in the Sistine Chapel. Let's take a look at how it works. Technically, any Roman Catholic male can be elected the leader of millions of Catholics around the world. But the next pope will come from among the cardinals. Since the 14th century, every pope has previously been a cardinal. The task of electing a pope falls to the College of Cardinals. They are chosen by the popes and wear distinctive red robes meant to symbolise a willingness to shed their blood for the Christian faith. They must be younger than 80 years old to participate in the vote. The election, known as a conclave, usually happens 15 to 20 days after the papal office becomes vacant, and all eligible candidates must vote in person. Before they start voting, all the cardinals, including those over 80, gather for crucial meetings in Rome. It is here that the big questions facing the church are discussed and potential candidates start to emerge. The conclave begins with a special morning mass in St. Peter's Basilica. After this, the strictly guarded vote takes place in the Sistine Chapel. Once the conclave starts, cardinals aren't allowed to speak to anyone outside of the process, read media reports, receive messages, or discuss the details of the elections afterwards. If they break the conclave secrecy rules, they risk excommunication. Once the voting starts, they write a candidate's name on a ballot, and in order of seniority, they drop them into a chalice. Cardinals aren't allowed to vote for themselves. The results are recorded by 3 designated cardinals. To be elected pope, a candidate needs to gain 2/3 of the vote. If that doesn't happen, they vote again and again. In total, 4 rounds of voting can be held a day until they reach that threshold. If no man is elected after 4 days, the conclave breaks for prayer and discussion before trying again. The voting process takes place behind the scenes. So how does the public find out when a new pope has been chosen? The ballots are burned once in the morning and once in the evening. If there's no winner, a chemical is added to turn the smoke black, so the people waiting in St. Peter's Square know that a new pope has not yet been chosen. But when a pope has been elected, a different chemical is added to ensure smoke comes out white, signalling a new pontiff. And finally, the man chosen must accept the decision of the cardinals. A senior cardinal tells the world, "We have a pope," and introduces the new pontiff to the crowd gathered in St. Peter's Square. The new pope goes out onto the balcony to make his first remarks and give his blessing.
Pope Francis's coffin will be closed Friday evening ahead of Saturday's funeral. In the meantime, hundreds flocked to St. Peter's Square in the night Thursday, hoping to say their final farewells to the beloved pontiff while they still can. His body has been lying in state at St. Peter's Basilica since Wednesday, before it is to be transferred to the Santa Maria Maggiore Basilica for burial Saturday.
In my opinion, because he was unique in everything, he was special, and therefore, this choice of the Basilica of the Madonna is special.
Pope Francis said in his final testament that he wished to be buried in a simple tomb in the ground.
It is for sure that he is really humble. No, he always believe in difference. No, he want to create something new.
As part of Francis's push to simplify the papal funeral rites, doing away with the tradition of having 3 coffins of cypress, lead, and oak, and he opted for 1 open wooden coffin. He was the first Latin American pontiff and the first to call himself Francis. In death, Francis's unorthodox approach seemingly continuing on, instructing that a simple tomb come, quote, without particular ornamentation, and bearing the inscription, Franciscus.
I think it's good for him because he feels at home here. He stopped here before and after every trip that he took overseas. So I think this is close to his heart, so it's good that he's being buried here.
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
Yusuf.
Buonasera, Santo Padre.
Buonasera, come stai?
For the last 18 months of his life, this was Pope Francis's nightly ritual. At 8 p.m., a call to war-torn Gaza.
Cosa avete mangiato oggi?
Del pollo, le ali, el resto del pollo, la salita, ¿qué tal, Santo Padre? Lo que quedó.
Buon Natale, tante grazie.
From the third day of the war until 2 days before his death, Pope Francis spoke nightly with the Holy Family Church, forging a special wartime bond that priests and parishioners of Gaza's only Catholic church won't ever forget.
Daily he called us and to ask for peace, to pray for peace and to give the blessing for all Gazan people and for all the Palestinians.
He spoke to us with a father's anxiety for his children, church leader George Anton recalled. He would reassure us, checking if we had eaten, if we had something to drink, if we had medicine, how the children were feeling, how the mothers were coping. The relationship drew the Pope closer to the plight of Gaza's civilian population and informed his outspoken criticism of Israel's attacks. Yesterday, children were bombed, the Pope decried in December. This is cruelty. This is not war. I want to say this because it touched my heart. The Pope also regularly called out rising anti-Semitism and demanded the release of Israeli hostages, including in his final address on Easter Sunday, in which he called for a ceasefire one last time. Inside Gaza's Holy Family Church, one of the many communities Pope Francis touched gathers to pray for his soul and for the world to see them as Francis did. My message to the world is to look at Gaza with the same eyes through which Pope Francis viewed it. Eyes of truth, justice, peace, love. Eyes that saw the people of Gaza as deserving of life with dignity, justice, and independence. From this small church in Gaza, a prayer against the scourge of indifference, which Pope Francis called the greatest sickness of our time.